episode 25, our final episode of the 2022-2023 school year. And I mean, it's going to be such a great way to cap off what has just been a fantastic year of podcasts. How's y'all's morning doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, me too. I mean, episode 1 to episode 25, it's been a fun ride, ups and downs, a lot of great interviewees, and I think we've had overall a great year.
Yeah, you know what they say, 25 is a quarter of the way to 100. So with all those podcasts, we've learned a lot throughout this year, and we've got to meet a lot of interesting people, and we've even met a couple celebrities and big names, which was really exciting to talk with them.
So before we look back on what a year it's been, let's talk about the Westminster sports that brought home 3 state championships over the weekend. Guys lacrosse took down Lovett 10-4 at Denmark High. Fantastic to see Westminster get revenge after they fell to Lovett in the prior year state championship.
Yeah, the girls varsity track and field team also won the state championship over the weekend. They had an outstanding showing with 6 individual state championship titles, 12 top 3 finishes, and 24 top 10 finishes.
And then finally, the boys tennis team beat North Oconee to win state over the weekend, and they won decisively. And I heard that their bus ride over there was actually longer than the match itself.
It's just pure dominance right there. I mean, come on.
Yes, it is.
5-0 Mafia. So I think it's pretty sure what they call themselves. 5-0 every single match. They just sweep the competition, I mean, every time.
And going back to that lacrosse game, I mean, the boys won sure-handedly. There was a score of 10-4. Mason Tice, a sophomore, was able to get a hat trick in that game. I mean, and we just saw a lot of contributions from seniors all the way down to freshmen with Thomas Flores and a couple of his buddies being able to get on the field, which is, I mean, that's crazy to see in a state championship.
Yeah, for sure. Remember to check out Aiden Woolley, senior, committed to Richmond, I believe, Richmond
Correct.
Spiders for lacrosse. So we did interview him earlier on, so make sure to check that out as well.
Episode 19, we had him on. So now let's move into the nostalgia here. We have a little wheel. I guess some trivia. Do y'all remember who was the first guest we had on?
Was it like, not Quinn, it was
CC Schrader.
Gigi Johnson, CC.
Oh, we didn't.
That was the
Yeah,
first
y'all
one.
didn't do
That
it.
was the first one we all 3 of us had, but
Yeah.
Gigi Johnson was the one you interviewed personally.
Yeah, that was
over
a
Zoom.
bad interview looking back on it. We've improved a lot those times.
Definitely agree. Command Shift 5 will do that for you.
There we go.
All right. And speaking of, golf, I believe they're in their state championships. I believe it's this week or next week. Next week, they have their state championship for girls and guys. And then I believe Crew has their regatta later this week as those seasons start to wrap up here. And we have the wheel already. And the first thing is...
So we have some questions like favorite guests,
And
favorite
then
memories, and
also,
favorite episodes.
quick-
All right, the wheel is spinning, and it landed on
Dun, dun, dun.
favorite guest. Palmer, take it
Palmer, you
away.
go first.
I don't want to be basic because I feel like it may be the same for a majority of us, but Alex Anthopoulos, Braves GM, someone who I look up to. It was great talking to him about, all the moves that he's made. And, not to plug it, but if you want to listen to it, that was episode 10. We kind of peaked there. So go and watch that one.
Nitin?
Go ahead, Alex. I'm gonna look back on our episodes. I
Well,
think
personally,
Spotify
for
pulled
me,
up.
I think just being able to interview my brother and one of his closest friends, who I've gotten to know pretty well, was really cool. I mean, just kind of going in depth of what it was like to be able to go to the next level in baseball, and then also just seeing the connection between best friends who get to be able to play on a baseball field together for a couple of years, and then be able to go and play in college with each other. Just seeing that connection and how it's formed is always really cool, and I really enjoy doing that podcast.
Yeah, for me, I think it was probably the most basic intro, like Palmer said, was Alex Anthopoulos. That was just overall neat. But I think one of the cooler episodes we had was where we did signing day, where we shifted over to where we had interviews on signing day. I think that was pretty cool. We didn't really do anything like that, so I think we covered a lot of athletes that day. So that was kind of cool.
That one was I enjoyed doing that interview. Those interviews, actually.
Yeah.
I was only supposed to do a couple of them, and then it just ended up me sitting down and getting force-fed athletes, and it was a little surprising. All right, next question is favorite memory of the year. Nitin, we'll go with you now.
Is this podcast related or
Yes.
just...
No, not podcast
Yes,
related.
podcast. Should we do
No,
podcast?
because this is
We have
we have
Okay, all right, all right,
so
all right.
favorite memory of the year, not podcast.
Oh.
Favorite memory of the year? That's a tough one. The year hasn't been too long so far, right? We've had
I think we're talking about school year, right?
the school year. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the JV baseball season was a lot of fun this year. My favorite game was probably our Riverwood game. That was a really fun
comeback,
game. Yeah.
Great game.
A lot of electrifying moments there. Another game I had a lot of fun one was at Wesleyan. That was a fun game for me. I had a lot of fun on the bench. It was fun watching how everything unfolded there, especially at the end of the game. A real nail biter.
That game personally hurt.
The one versus Wesleyan?
Yes,
no,
yes.
At home.
No, away.
Oh, the one at home
it
was painful for y'all.
I threw back-to-back starts, and I
Uh-huh.
started both times against them. The first time I threw a complete game, but I gave up like one unearned run.
Yeah.
We lost 1-0.
Alex had a no-hitter going into like the 6th or 7th inning, and then a couple bloop hits and error here or there blew the game. But
And we lost 1-0.
yeah.
It hurt.
But overall, I think the JV season was a lot of fun. I know Alex had a pretty dominant year on the mound, so that was a lot of fun to see. And I think overall, a lot of memories were made, and that's probably my favorite school memory so far.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. That baseball season was probably the most fun I've ever had. I mean, it was just clicking for all the players on the field, and then off of it, just being able to play with your friends for a couple months on end is just, it gives you the opportunity to make memories, and that's really what you're there for. I mean, JV, you're not looking to win every time, but we were able to win majority of it, which is just incredible. And the lineup we were able to put out there was a lot of fun. And then also the playoffs for varsity was probably one of the coolest atmospheres ever. I mean, being able to win as you can see, we got the bleach going, which I'm actually pretty happy that majority of the sports teams for Westminster was able to bleach their hair.
Yeah.
You got
Do something.
Yeah, exactly. I
You
mean,
had to
just
fit in a little bit.
shows
You weren't
team
alone.
unity.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I don't look like a weirdo. But I think personally for me, my favorite memory was Guatemala, just because I'll never be able to do that again. I mean, just a super special moment. I'm not sure if we're able to get the interview out from Phillips Moore now. Well, we had an
Technical
interview planned. It
difficulties.
was a lot of fun. But unfortunately, we can't get that insight from Big Phil.
Oh, yeah. Palmer?
I guess I would say for me, school related to a degree was going up to Cedartown and commentating when, the baseball team swept Cedartown, watching, my grade mate Calvin McBurney shove in game 1 with the complete game, only gave up 2 earned runs, which I believe was in the 6th inning, Dylan Cupp getting outplayed by Henry. Just a great game, great 2 games, and, the bus ride back was fun. I think that was really just a highlight.
You want to know something crazy about that game? Bobby and Calvin had the exact same
Stat line.
Same amount of pitches, same
pretty
amount
crazy.
of strikes, same amount of strikeouts, same amount of runs, same amount of hits, same amount of. I think Bobby had
Bobby had more
one
hits.
more, someone had more hits, someone had more walks, but almost identical stat line.
That's
which is
crazy.
just-
Yeah.
It's really crazy.
Alrighty, spinning it.
It's a pretty long spin.
It's a really loud wheel. Oh, I don't know where it's going.
Ooh.
Strangest question. Strangest question asked.
I think I got a good one.
Oh, no.
I-
Don't take
we
mine.
we edited it out, but I asked Will Benson if he had any strategy advice for studying for Spanish. It didn't land too well with these two, but I personally thought that it was very very thoughtful question.
In case you
I
were
found
wondering.
it very comical, Alex. So I did enjoy the question.
Yeah.
I know Palmer was a little bit against it, but
For people who didn't, because we edited it out, Will said the best way to study for Spanish, which maybe, if you have a Spanish exam next week, you may want to use flashcards. That's what really helped him. And hey, he was going to go to Duke, so he was a pretty smart kid. So, maybe take that as you go into exam week.
yeah, I think the strangest asked question I had at least was superstitions to Joseph Jaco. I think his response, beet juice. We did end up trying beet juice the next episode, and it was an adventure for everybody. So I think that'd probably be maybe not the strangest question, but the strangest response, I'd say.
That is true. Palmer, what about you?
I don't know if it was weirdest, but when I asked Will Benson about playing chess with Stephen Kwan, and he had no clue why I knew that they played chess a lot. He was kind of shocked by that. I liked that one, just kind of surprising the guest by how much you know.
I think another question that I found interesting that you knew was asking Will Benson why he went to Dairy Queen or something or Taco Bell.
Oh, Taco Bell?
Where he got the call up, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you had watched his press conference after his first MLB game, you would have known that.
Well,
Apologies, I don't.
that's why we have Palmer Ruth on the
That's why
podcast.
you do your research.
This is why we have Palmer. Palmer can go the extra mile for the podcast here. He's a big podcast guy.
What about when you asked Will why Taco Bell? And
That's a
and he,
That's a pretty good
That's
follow-up
like a-
question,
I
in my
like Taco
opinion.
Bell, so
I've gone once, and if you know anything about Taco Bell, that happened to me.
The aftermath is not the best all
get
the
a good
time.
Crunchwrap Supreme.
All right, next question. Most rewarding moment. We'll go in reverse order, and we'll go start with Palmer.
Mr. P Money.
I would say the most rewarding moment, which I think it's just like people coming up in the hallways or being like, oh, that was great when you interviewed so-and-so, or even like random people's parents will text my dad and be like, wow, Palmer's doing such a great job with the podcast. I don't know. I find that rewarding to see that people are actually watching it and liking what we do here.
Yeah, the recognition's really cool. I mean, I've gotten a lot of people who have come up and asked to be on the podcast, which is pretty cool, and a lot of people have really gave us props and everything like that. So thank you guys to all of you guys who have given us a lot of good thoughts and everything like that.
Well, I was going to say the most rewarding thing for me was probably getting to know the athletes. I mean,
Yeah.
these are seniors that we won't see for too much longer before they go off to whichever school
Bigger and better
they
things.
chose to. So just being able to get to know them before they head off was really cool, and just hearing different people's stories and how people got to the positions that they were at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great, you know, because every question that we'll ask almost every athlete is kind of what advice has like you've been given or that like a coach has given you, and you almost get to learn from every guest you have on. Oh, what can I do? Sure, I swim and this guy plays basketball, but what can I take away from their experience that can help me in my own sport?
Yeah, for sure. And I think we can go on to another question here. Palmer, I have a question for you.
Sure.
All right, one-on-one. So you did have a couple of interviews where it was you just by yourself, right?
I had one.
Just one?
Was it just the GG one?
Was it just the GG one?
Yeah, that was the worst interview of my life.
Well, we can see now how Palmer has grown and how he's become a better interviewer.
Wow.
And with segue, we'll go to the next question.
I think Kari's finally stopped starting every episode with, all right.
Well, I did all right just for an audio spike, but it became a thing then.
Ooh.
This was a Palmer requested question, and I
It
think
can't be your
Nate
own
and I have
sports
a
team.
bias. Yeah,
It can't be your own sports team.
Who said I was going to pick baseball?
he was gonna choose squash.
I was not going to choose squash. I was going to choose my favorite Westminster sports team,
He chose cricket.
water polo.
Team.
Water polo is
Next
coming to
year.
Westminster next year. I believe it's going to be headed by Reverend Charney.
It will.
So
wow.
that is my new favorite Westminster sports team. I will be going to all the games. I will be going to every single event. You will see me at the pool every day after school.
Why don't you join the team?
I'm not joining the water polo team. I will be your number one fan, though.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you joining the team?
I will be. Be a member.
Okay, Mr. Palmer. Is that like in place of swimming, or is that like with swimming?
No, water polo be a fall sport,
It's a fall sport. Okay.
although not fully finalized.
All right. Well, you keep us updated, and we'll come out to some of your games.
Was it a game or is it a match? You know what they call it?
We'll call it a game. Also, we
I'll
haven't gotten
reword
in
that.
each.
We would love to have you on if you would join us for any of the podcasts. Just let us know if you have any time that would work for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great way to put it there, Alex.
All right. Alex, what's your favorite sports team?
I mean, we've seen a lot throughout this season, this year, to be honest. I think one team that I really enjoyed watching, let me think. I mean, basketball is always fun. I mean,
Yeah.
just being able to connect over those games.
I mean, like
standing
always
in the
after
crowd.
baseball practice too, we could always go and see some of those games going on in Turner too.
I think, but it's just got to be football.
Yeah.
I mean, all that comes with it, just like the WCAT productions that go alongside it, just seeing all the students and the parents and the alumni show up in the stadium, and just the support that the team gets. I think that's probably got to be my favorite memory
Yeah, for
for
sure.
sports teams.
I gotta say, I mean baseball, but I feel like I don't know because I'm involved with it. But if not that, then maybe like lacrosse, either girls or guys, because I never really watched any lacrosse before this year, and then I ended up commentating a majority of the girls' games and some of the guys' games. So I really kind of have found to really like lacrosse over this year. So
Yeah.
yeah,
All right, next question here. Spinning the wheel.
wheel,
Bop,
spin,
bop,
spin.
bop, 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 bop.
It's a long one.
This is my favorite question that I asked. 3 words to describe the year.
School
Not
or
just
podcast?
Podcast, just school in general.
Exciting.
Good start.
Yeah. Hard work. I'm counting that as one word.
All right.
And
work.
A grind.
Okay.
All right, and then you go.
For me, for the school year, I'm gonna have to say a grind. I like that word. A grind is definitely one of the things. I'd have to say, what's the word? The word that kind of means bittersweet.
Wow.
We'll bring out a nice little word there, bittersweet, and then we'll end it off with enjoyable.
I like that. I'm going to double down on bittersweet. I mean, so many times throughout this year, having a brother graduate, seeing the other brother in college, just kind of puts, I mean, what you're doing in high school into perspective. I mean, you're not in high school for too long, and just seeing.
Think
We're
about
halfway done.
Next year, we're seniors.
Wait.
In 2024, we are seniors.
That is true. At
Think
this
about
time
that.
next year, we will be. I didn't think
Whoa.
about that.
Yes.
That is really weird.
In 2024, we will be seniors. Think
So
about
that bittersweet goes along perfectly. I like that grind, word you guys are saying, but since you guys already used it twice, I'm going to go with a different one and say learning, because I've learned a lot about myself throughout this year.
and academically too.
Of course.
Academically, but I'm talking like in sports, just like who I am as a person. And then finally, I'll go with
Gotta like conclude it, kind
Yeah.
of finish this together.
exactly.
Put a bow on the present. Wrap it up.
Wow.
I'm going to have to go with something that like
Encapsulates.
exactly.
Oh yeah, nice word there. Palmer.
I'll say, so I said bittersweet, learning, and then also just, I just got to say,
Complete.
yeah, complete. I mean, a lot has happened this year that I feel like I've done the best of my ability to. I mean, we started this podcast, baseball, academics, so a lot has happened this year.
Follow up question to both of you guys. If you could redo the year, would you do it?
No.
No. I'm
No?
ready to get on to junior year
Done?
and then eventually
but done
college.
with sophomore year. No.
It
regrets.
was a good year, but I'm not willing to go back through it. No.
All right.
All right, spin it. Now, while it's spinning, a little Westminster trivia. I guess I just gave it away what the answer was, so we'll do a different question. Or never mind, it's here. Favorite pub sub? I'll just start us off. Chicken tender sub with ranch and buffalo.
Nice. I'm a big Buffalo guy, so I respect that there.
The heart attack delight.
Oh yes. For us, I feel like the only pub subs I've really had in a while are all the baseball pub subs we get before
true.
games. So I'm probably just gonna have to go with that. You got like the turkey or you got the ham. Always a solid go-to snack before games.
Oh, yeah. I'll go with that, but since you already said that, I'll go with my created pub sub, which is toasted multigrain with Swiss, cracked pepper turkey. You got lettuce, olives. You do the Jimmy John's way. And then you got jalapenos and peppers.
Wow.
Nice little kick there on the spice level.
Oh, and then a couple slices of salami. Yeah, it's pretty good. And mayonnaise, of course. You can't go wrong with mayonnaise.
You a big spicy guy? I know Palmer's not a big spicy.
Yeah,
guy.
I enjoy some spicy food.
You are? You big spice guy?
I'm not a big spice guy, but I enjoy a little kick just to, make the food more entertaining.
What about you, Alex?
I would like to think that I'm a spice guy. My family, we enjoy putting hot sauce on a lot of stuff. Most food that you can imagine gets a splash of hot sauce in it. So
Nice.
and that's been going on for a little bit. All right, we have time for about 3 more questions, so we'll see what we get. And in this one, we'll have
Okay.
most awkward interactions, and Palmer's led to it and talked about it a little bit. But that first interview with
Yep.
Gigi Johnson's got to be.
I'll say the most awkward moment. We're wrapping up the interview, and I go to wrap it up. I say anything else you want to talk about instead of like me ending it, and that was very awkward.
But you got to give props to Palmer doing the first interview by yourself on a phone call. It takes a little bit.
Not the best way to build your confidence, and we do appreciate you, Palmer, for doing that. For me, most awkward interaction was probably kind of our it was a specific part of the Alex Anthopoulos interview. He did ask us how we got his phone number. We did find his phone number on the directory, so if you ever want to call him, it's always on the directory. Just log in real quick.
If you're mad that Dansby's
And
gone,
it's right there.
Want
So-
Ozuna to be DFA'd. you
Yeah,
know.
for me, that was probably the most awkward interaction. Alex?
I have 2. Beginning of
Okay.
Alex Anthopoulos interview, we got on and we started talking a little bit, and then I asked him what we should. I didn't know how to word it, but just like I just asked him what we should call him, and it didn't seem too awkward. But I just kept on thinking like, what do I? Oh, this one was good too. Introduction for Will Benson. I had it planned out. I could just like run through it a couple times without looking at the script, and then he sits down, and I try and do it. And his 6'5", 240 massiveness is very intimidating. Yeah. And I start saying my intro, and it's gone from my head. It was just silence.
Alex got a little nervous around Will Benson.
Oh yeah, I just freaked out. But then also, I think most awkward part was interview with Alex Anthopoulos, and I accidentally said that they lost Freddie Freeman to free agency.
Well, no.
No,
yes.
to trade deadline.
We did lose him
Trade
to free
deadline.
agency.
Yeah, see, now I got it reversed.
See, that was
I said that we lost Freddie Freeman to the trade deadline, and he lost it.
And then
goes,
no! Palmer got really mad. He was like, no.
So we had to cut that part.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
Wait, I had something. Oh, speaking of the Will Benson interview, it made the yearbook. They misspelled his name, Will Benton.
Benton Ruth.
Also, Nate and I were able to see him when he was in Atlanta when they took on the Braves. Got him to sign a baseball and a shirt jersey of his. So great to catch up with him. And also saw at that same game Westminster alumni Gordon Beckham.
Yes,
got to talk to him for a couple of minutes. So always great to see, some alumni out in Atlanta.
I don't know about a minute, Palmer. I think that conversation was probably about 30 seconds.
No, it was at least a minute. It was longer than I expected.
All right, solid.
Favorite guest?
favorite guest? I feel like we've already
Yeah, we
kind of
did.
answered this.
We kind of did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
With our favorite interview, I think that kind of covered favorite.
Actually, I would say Will Benson was my favorite guest.
All right.
Well, now I've answered it.
Someone you wished we got on the podcast. That's a good question.
I'm gonna have to go with Arthur Smith. I do believe his kids go to Westminster, so that would have been cool if we could get him on. But that's definitely something to look forward to next year. But for me, I think Arthur Smith would have been a really cool interview if we could have gotten him on.
We just mentioned him, Gordon Beckham. Yeah, alumni, played in MLB, played for the Braves, does Bally Sports. That would have been cool.
And I think finally, maybe, I love all the guests we got, but it would have been cool if we were able to branch out outside of sports and found, maybe like a TV personality or something like that. Because there's a lot of Westminster alumni and parents of Westminster students who are on TV and things of that nature. Yeah, exactly. Like Mr. Gupta, who's consistently on CNN. So
Correspondent there, yeah. That would be really cool. Maybe look forward to that next year.
Hopefully.
Keep your notifications on. You never know when you see Dr. Sanjay Gupta on WCATChats.
Spinning.
And for our final question
We already did.
favorite memory
of the podcast.
of the podcast.
This is a pretty tough question. I think this is a nice little way to end the episode here. Nice little bit.
I got mine looking back on it. So we're sitting in my Jan term class, boring Tuesday, I want to say.
Yeah.
It's Jan term. So I decided, hey, I'm going to shoot an email to Alex Anthopoulos. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? Within 15 minutes, he had replied. We were confirmed for an interview later that day. And then I was just giddy with joy the rest of the day, researching. Everyone else in the Jan term, my teachers were like, oh yeah, don't worry about what we're doing today. Just work on this. And I think that was a pretty fun moment.
Yeah, Alex, actually, this was before you went to Guatemala, correct? Or was it when you came back? Yeah.
It was right before. I remember I was sitting in Jan term, and then Mr. Searle, who was my Jan term teacher, actually pulls me to the side and says, "You're interviewing Alex Anthopoulos today." And I was like, "Wait, excuse me?" And he goes, "Yeah, Palmer sent him an email. Didn't ask me if he could, but he did. And he responded. So we got an interview with Alex Anthopoulos, and I didn't really have time to prepare because for some reason we had our phones off and we were on a field trip. So we got back and Mr. Searle told me that, and I had about 30 minutes to get my head around it and then come up with ideas to ask him, which was
I remember I was in the boardroom, the Parker
Boardroom.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I get a text from Palmer freaking out saying, "Oh my God, we got Alex Anthopoulos." I'm sitting here confused because I know Palmer discussed about possibly getting him on, but I wasn't really, hadn't wrapped my head around it either, like Alex said. So when we came in here, we did the interview, and I think it was just a surreal moment because, looking back, it didn't feel like, it happened almost. It was almost surreal. Yeah.
that podcast flew by.
Yeah, it did.
I feel like the best interviews that we always did, it felt like they went by the fastest.
And then there's some slow ones where I'm like looking at the clock, like, let's keep going to try to drag this out.
Unfortunately, that is true. And I think just one thing that I did learn from doing this podcast this year was human interactions and how to learn how to continue interaction with someone else. And if you can tell eventually, like, whether they're interested in the conversation and which way you should go with it. And I feel like that's something that I've picked up on that I wouldn't have without doing this podcast.
The little social cues you can realize, like when someone's conversation, you can keep it going or not. And then like, we really learned how the best way to keep these podcasts is more like a friend, right? You're trying to talk to them, you're trying to converse. You're not really trying to keep it as formal as you can, right? We've been trying to, every single time almost before we have an interview, we tell them, hey, let's just try to keep this as a conversation. So I think trying to keep it as a conversation, talking it out, just reacting to like someone how you would as a friend, it really has improved our podcast experience.
And I think one thing you got to know is we are interviewing high school kids, and we also are high school kids. So you're not going to see the most formal or even the most informal interactions, because sometimes some people will be nervous up here, and you'll see with the professionals like Alex Anthopoulos, he was media prepared.
Oh my God.
I talked about it with Mr.
That was
Searle.
crazy.
He had his answers written down before we even asked them. It was just incredible. He would like censor out information if you didn't want to. We asked him, what was the question you asked him? It was like, who do you think will be like the starting shortstop for next year?
And he wouldn't say anything.
Just silence. Like, oh, yeah, and there's another question. Who do you think are the top prospects of the MLB?
He's like, oh, I can't divulge that information because if other teams want to trade for him, you know, like, it's crazy. The media training is really, really intense.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching this so that we can continue doing it. And we'll be back hopefully next year. First episode should come out around August 16th, looking at the calendar here.
Sometime in August, we'll see you then.
Sometime in August, preferably not the first week of school. All right.
Preferably.
Well, it has been us with me, Nathan Raju, Alex Carr, Palmer Ruth, and also Kate Lockerman occasionally.
And also thank you to Buckley Wiley, who has been the producer, though, hasn't
done all that much.
done the title of the producer. He just gets it. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure throughout the past year, and we'll see you next year.
On
Go Cats.
WCATChats.